I would request everyone. Yeah. Yes. Start.
बुला बुला ऊपर बुला.
Yes.
Okay.
A very good morning to all of you. I, Ritu Baranwal,
And I, Krishna Joshi,
feel extremely privileged to welcome you all to CIMR's 9th International Research Conference on the theme Sustainable Futures, Leveraging Innovation in Business Practices and Social Enterprises. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. We would like to begin our conference inaugural ceremony by lighting the digital lamp of knowledge. We request the dignitaries present to kindly do the honors.
I would request everyone to please cease. चुप बैठे वैसे बोलना.
Everyone's requested to maintain the decorum.
Yeah, please start. Can we rise for the...
Everyone please rise for the lamp lighting.
Thank you. CIMR is proud to be associated with their international knowledge partners, Universities Negeri Makassar, Indonesia, Madej University, Nepal, Universidad Azteca, Mexico, University of Roehampton, London, International Association of Technology and Management, USA. We are thankful for all our knowledge partners. Chetana Trust has been at the forefront of higher education in Mumbai since its inception in 1969. With a mission of education for all, the founder president of the trust, late Sri Madhukar Rao Chaudhary, former Education, Finance and Culture Minister and Speaker of Maharashtra Legislative Assembly, believed in imparting education as well as contributing to the overall welfare of the society. As a visionary in his pursuit of excellence for providing quality management, he founded Chetana's Ram Prasad Khandelwal Institute of Management and Research, AICTE approved and NBA accredited Master of Management Studies and the Mumbai University PhD programs in 1981. Later, Chetana's Institute of Management and Research was established in the year 1996, offering AICTE approved and NBA accreditation approved autonomous PGDM and PGDM marketing programs as the fellow program in management. Today, his vision is taken forward by Dr. Madhumita Patil, CEO, CIMR and CRKIMR. The institute aims at shaping brilliant minds to contribute and eventually lead national and global organizations. With the philosophy of creating ethical business leaders, CSR activities are an integral part of our programs. We are proud that our recruiters have faith in our brand, Chetana. It is our among other ranking institutions.
We would now like to extend a warm welcome to our dignitaries with a sapling. May we request Pandit Shri Shri Datta Halankar, President, Chetana Trust. Due to some reasons, sir could not join us. We request CEO ma'am to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Chaitanya Kalia, partner, EY and national leader, climate change and sustainability. We request ma'am to welcome our guest of honor, Mr. Nitin Nayak, founder of Synergy Connect, and Mr. Nilesh Kanolkar, co-founder of Synergy Connect.
Mr. Nilesh. Yeah, please.
Let's give a round of applause.
Let's give a round of applause. Thank you, ma'am. We request Dr. Madhumita Patil, CEO, CRKIMR and CIMR, to declare the conference open.
All the dignitaries on the dais and off the dais, it is my privilege to declare this conference, the International Conference on Sustainability, with lot of pleasure and happiness and pride to have you all here and gracing this occasion. So with huge pride, I declare this conference open. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. May we now request Dr. Nandita Mishra, Director, CIMR, to give us the welcome address.
A very warm good morning to all of you, but I would like to take out the word warm because of the climate action already around. We don't need any more warm. What we need is a very pleasant good morning to all of you. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 9th International Conference on Sustainable Futures, Leveraging Innovation in Business Practices and Social Enterprises. I extend a very warm welcome to our distinguished dignitaries, Mr. Chaitanya Kalia, our chief guest, our guest of honor, Mr. Nitin Nayak, our esteemed panelists, Advocate Barzin Somandi, Mr. Niranjan Bal, Mr. Suhas Maskar. I also warmly welcome our valued knowledge partners, Dr. Anwar, Dr. Kayali, Dr. Anjay Mishra, and Dr. P.K. Paul. My sincere greetings to our respected leadership team from Chetana's, Sri Shirish Chaudhary, Secretary, Chetana Trust, Sri Sridatta Haldankar, President, Chetana Trust, Dr. Madhumita Patil, CEO, Dr. Sanjay Jagta, Principal of Chetana College, CA Suhas Gharasa, Director, CRKMR. I extend a heartfelt welcome to our esteemed faculty members, researchers, scholars, and all distinguished guests who have joined us for this important academic gathering. I take this opportunity to congratulate and sincerely thank the conference team and the research team, both the faculty and the student team, for their dedication, hard work, and commitment in organizing the international conference and bringing together scholars across the globe. Yesterday, till 9 p.m., we had the international panel discussions and the tracks. And believe me, we had participation from different countries. And at the end, when we were concluding, we heard such encouraging feedback and comments from our members and the collaborators, those who had joined. They said that this is a truly, truly international conference where participation from 6 countries were there. We had partners from Mexico, Azteca. We had UNM, that is Indonesia. We had participation from Nepal, Roehampton University, UK, IITM, USA, and of course, our own CIMR. We had a presentation of 120 papers yesterday. It started in the morning at 10 and it went all till 9 p.m. in the evening. And this is, they said, and it was very heartening for us to see that, whether it is Bangladesh, whether it is UK, whether it is the US I would mention a bit late and little, and about UK and about China. We had participation everywhere. Everyone is thinking about sustainability. So as we come together to deliberate on the theme of sustainability, we do so at a time when the world is navigating unprecedented challenges. This probably we will discuss during our panel discussion. Ongoing geopolitical tensions, global conflicts, climate concerns, and economic uncertainties have created what is described as a VUCA world that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. In such a landscape, the role of responsible leadership, innovative business practices, and socially driven enterprises becomes very crucial than ever. This conference provides a valuable platforms for scholars, practitioners, and thought leaders to exchange ideas, share research insights, and explore innovative pathways towards building sustainable and resilient futures. We have here, sir, for your benefit, I would like to add, we have here the budding managers, those who are going to join the industry in the next 2 years, or maybe less than 2 years. What we need, because we have a course on sustainability, we have an ESG, but what we need for them to understand and to practice both in letter and spirit when we talk about ESG and sustainability. So once again, I warmly welcome you all and wish you all a very enriching and productive conference. I welcome all the participants across the countries. There are some participants, those who have traveled from Mangalore, and they are young participants discussing on sustainability, and they represent a hospitality, actually it's a hospital management institute. They are talking about sustainability, and very young participants have also come. We have received around 215 research papers, each one discussing and deliberating on what should be the next sustainability. And I think the panel discussion with such rich panelists that we have, and we have very distinguished speakers as our chief guest and our guest of honor, this conference is really going to be sustainable and add more to our knowledge. Thank you very much, and all the best.
So I would like to invite Dr. Mahesh Luthia, sir, to give us the concept note for this conference.
Good morning, and thank you very much. As the conference convener, it gives me great pleasure and honor to briefly introduce the concept of this conference. So while we were deliberating on what this conference should be, we saw that there was so much emphasis in organizations around sustainability and ESG. And we saw that as businesses are navigating through technology, acceleration, climate change, and evolving societal expectations, and current geopolitical landscape, the focus of sustainable future is extremely critical. What's most important is also innovation. Innovation is not just a source of competitive advantage, but also a driver for growth and also for creating an inclusive society. Something that helps us to drive economic development, especially in emerging economies. In this context, ESG principles are increasingly guiding principles that integrate responsible practices, ethical governance, and long-term sustainability in strategic decision-making. From a circular economy to digital transformation, the focus on sustainable innovation is redefining competitiveness, inclusiveness in business landscape. While sustainable innovation presents lots of opportunities for business and social enterprises, there are also challenges, regulatory and resource scarcity. Addressing these challenges require a sustainable innovation, a culture that would promote sustainable practices and invest in education and research. The conference theme, Sustainable Futures, Leveraging Innovation in Business Practices and Social Enterprises, highlights this transformative role of innovation in shaping resilient, equitable, and environmentally responsible economic systems. This conference aims to encourage dialogue and collaborations among academicians, industry leaders, policymakers, and research scholars. Most importantly, promote interdisciplinary research, knowledge sharing on these practices. We hope that these deliberations during the conference will foster meaningful collaborations, great insights, and contribute to advancing responsible and sustainable business practices. I thank the esteemed dignitaries on the stage for making it for the conference. I want to add one more thing in addition to my concept note. Me and ma'am, we had the opportunity to invite our secretary, sir, yesterday for the conference, and he was extremely happy because not just, and what he said that it's a very relevant and very contemporary theme. And just to let you know, our secretary, sir, Shri Srizada Chaudhary, he basically comes from Jalgaon, a state where they have invested a lot in water harvesting, agriculture. So a lot of sustainable practices, he has spearheaded there. So he shared a message, and it's my honor to read out his message. So this is a message from our Secretary, Sir, Shri Srizada Chaudhary, who along with our CEO, ma'am, Dr. Madhumita Patil, carries to continue the mission of our founder president, late Shri Madhukar Rao Chaudhary, of building a sustainable, inclusive society. His message goes, I extend my best wishes for the successful conduct of CIMR's 9th International Conference on Sustainable Futures. I am confident that the conference will provide a platform for the participants and especially for the scholars to exchange ideas on responsible and sustainable business practices. We welcome you to CIMR, and I hope that the deliberations and research papers presented will generate meaningful insights for addressing contemporary global challenges. I wish the organizing committee, the participants, and the dignitaries a highly enriching and productive conference. Thank you so much.
Dr. Madhumita Patil, CEO of Chetana's RK Institute of Management and Research and Chetana's Institute of Management and Research, brings with her over 3 decades of diverse experience in entrepreneurship, strategy, human resources, management education, and cultural studies, a graduate in arts and law with an MBA in marketing and a PhD in management education. Her journey began as a lawyer at the Mumbai High Court, later expanding globally through her teaching tenure in Fiji. She has played a pivotal role at the Maharashtra Economic Development Council, leading initiatives with the UNDP, World Bank, and international delegations. Passionate about sustainable development, and she actively drives social initiatives in education, healthcare, environment, and women empowerment. At Chetana's, Madhumita ma'am has fostered impactful academic collaborations and research partnerships. Honored with numerous accolades, including the Midday 2025 Education Icon Award, recognizing her exceptional contributions in the field of education and management as Chetanites. It is an honor and privilege to request CEO ma'am to kindly address the audience.
Once again, good morning to all of you. And the students keep meeting us. They keep taking in whatever we are trying to give them. It's the industry people, the outside people who have come here, and they are here to give our students the insights about what is happening across the world and what should be done and what is our role in making this world a better place. So I'm basically trying to speak to the people who are here because I had the chance to interact with them, and it is really, my heart is so filled with pleasure and warmth that such people have come here to talk to the students and the people who are attending the conference, and from the team which has come from out of Maharashtra also. Welcome to all of you. we all were brought up by our parents telling us, वो तेरा नहीं है, तूने क्यों हाथ लगाया? We were also told, वो कचरा क्यों गिराया? चॉकलेट खाया, रैपर अंदर क्यों नहीं डाला? We were told as children. Somewhere maybe we have stopped doing that to our children, and that's when we have realized that the world has forgotten to keep it clean. World has forgotten that it is not mine, so I'm not supposed to take it. I'm not going to speak directly about the subject, because this is the philosophy with which we have been brought up, and we are trying to make, since childhood we have felt that, it is our duty as a responsible person who lives in the world and takes from the world to give back, as well as at least maintain it the way we have received it, if not make it better. Now, along the time, it's not the first time we are holding this conference on sustainability. I'm very happy to say that. This has been a very dear subject to our heart, because we feel again and again we do deliberations, and that's when we start seeping in and taking in what is it to be done for our students as well as for ourselves. When we decided the theme, we really didn't know that what we were going to be feeling when we stand here. Today I stand here with pride, but I also stand here with a lot of feeling of, uncertainty, or, the kind of, not a great feeling today to feel that, we are sitting and talking about the sustainability and the world is busy holding at guns at each other, and it's really a disheartening feeling. I would like to just share something with you rather than talking about the subject directly. Yesterday evening, we were out, and we have a small boy in the family, so we went for a dinner as usual. He said, "मैं नीर डोसा खाऊंगा, मैं ये खाऊंगा, मैं वो खाऊंगा." And when we went to the hotel, they said, no, the gas cylinders are not available. So there is no tandoor, there is no neer dosa, there is only this. And naturally, the subject got into discussion. The elders who were sitting around, we were talking about the issues. Slowly we saw that boy getting he started, and he stopped actually responding, reacting. He became so depressed himself, and we also realized that maybe we shouldn't be talking in front of him. But the point is, that is his reality, and he has to live so many more years. We are all going to be here, but the others who are sitting here, they have an age which is going to be still further looking at the world, and that has actually made me feel that are we going to look at this thing as one standalone discussion? No, we are all here because together we feel and we are committed to the cause of world goodness, and I think that is what I would like to put my heart and soul, that's where I would like to speak about, just a little bit that I want to share with all of you. I just would like to bring one more point to your notice. I don't want to say too much, but in a very poetic manner, if we had to look at this world, today morning I received one message which says that all the countries across the world have decided that they will pray in their country for 1 minute. They will keep silent for 1 minute, and that is their way of praying for the goodness and the peace for the world, and where India is supposed to do that at 9 o'clock in the night. Now this message just came to me, and I was thinking that maybe if we had to start this conference, then maybe on that note, where we all feel that we are committed to the peace for the world and the goodness of the world, I'm very happy that the experts are going to talk about how to hold it up, how to make it better. And I'm just requesting everybody that if we can think about in our hearts for a moment that yes, we all feel that this world should be safe, we all should be happy, and so should others be happy. I think our conference will be really fruitful in that way, I feel. And before taking your leave, I would just like to say a few couplets. हर तरफ जुल्म है बेबसी है सहमा सहमा सा हर आदमी है पाप का बोझ बढ़ता ही जाए जाने कैसे ये धरती थमी है बोझ ममता से तू ये उठा ले तेरी रचना का ही अंत होना। हम चले नेक रस्ते पे हमसे भूल कर भी कोई भूल होना. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful recital. Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful recital. We would now request the dignitaries to kindly come forward for the release of the Book of Abstract. This Book of Abstract will provide a synopsis of the research areas covered, diverse research methodologies adopted, findings and recommendations of researchers from academia, research scholars, and students as part of the conference proceedings.
Please call the, yeah. Yes, all the dignitaries, please call the, yeah, all the dignitaries, please come on the dais. The research committee members, Dean Student Affair, program chairs.
That's City, ma'am.
Yeah, research committee, I have called research committee members. That was the first name I called out.
And FPM, Dr. Mrinali Tikare, please come for FPM in charge. Please come.
Sir, please come upstairs. Please come. Yes, please. Lata ma'am is also there. Melanie is there. See, you have to maintain silence. Yes, yeah, I know.
Everyone's requested to
Thank you all. It gives us pleasure to introduce our guest of honor, Mr. Nitin Nayak, founder of Synergy Connect. It is an absolute honor to welcome Mr. Nitin Nayak, a distinguished leader in business strategy and stakeholder collaboration to our research conference today. Mr. Nayak is the founder of Synergy Connect, an initiative dedicated to create meaningful synergies between organizations, thought leaders, and communities. With deep expertise in building strategic partnership and enabling collaborative ecosystems, Mr. Nayak has been instrumental in fostering alliances that generate, enable, passionate about leveraging innovations. He firmly believes that purposeful connections are the foundation of responsible business transformation. Today, we are privileged to have Mr. Nitin Nayak with us, sharing his invaluable insights on innovation, collaboration, and business reliance. Sir, we request you to kindly address the gathering.
Thanks, everybody. I think the topic itself we started was sustainable futures, leveraging innovation in business and social. The very starting point, I saw the sustainability brought into lighting a lamp. The two things happen. As a business, you start it, so you have a digital inclusion. And the other way was looking at how do you reduce the risk of actually lighting a lamp on a stage with so many people. So I think this conference starts with the very insight of sustainability. How do you take care of, how do you bring innovation and how do you mitigate the risk? Really congratulate to everyone who thought that. So hands up. Second point of sustainability is inclusion of women. And I see almost 60% women as a part of the audience. I think that's the second point which I can talk about, sustainable inclusion. That's a very critical part because today we are moving to creating a workforce because 2030, India is going to be the youth capital of the world. And if we don't have women, we would be missing 50% of the population. So I would really congratulate Chetana management to look into the way they have brought sustainability at the very core of inclusion. Great. So thanks everyone on the stage and the young audience which is in front of me. Sustainability has been a core subject for me for last almost 30 years. Having worked in development sector where social inclusion has been a priority. And my journey has been more on behavioral change. Today, as I was introduced, as a founder of a technology company, but what went into bringing technology to the forefront was how do we bring impact, which is to be captured at the ground level, business which supports impact to be brought to the face of people who are different stakeholders from different walks of life. So I'll first cover, there are two case studies which I would like to talk about. Everyone here, when we hear of sustainability, we actually look at only two things. One is everyone think of carbon footprint. That's something which is talked about at all the time. And then we look at the other point of that is like, how do you look at environmental protection? So we look from a planet's perspective. And that also, if you see, it's more of today's business who are looking from a sustainability perspective, not the last mile persons who are actually the other stakeholders, which needs to be a part of any sustainable approach. Because if you don't have the buying of those people, I think sustainability will fail and it would be only a boardroom story. So that is something which we need to change. From the perspective of business, previously business was more about the business lens has changed. How do you move from profit to purpose is something which is coming as a part of even the boardroom discussions. So the entire perspectives are changing. We should really give a lot of credit to a lot of, I would say, consulting organizations, a lot of academia who have brought this ESG as a mainstream. For me, ESG framework is a part of what changed, like came from GATT. Originally it was GATT, and then as people started understanding GATT, it actually came to a level where to implement GATT, you require a framework, and that is how ESG came into being. And when you break E, S, and G, you are looking at environment as the first part, social, which is more about people, and the last part, governance, is about corporate governance. So actually it started with corporate governance first, which was the main thing. Governance was a part for existence of a corporate. Due diligence was a part of corporate governance. Then we went and came to social, where we thought about those people who work with us, we need to look at the human factor. Social also includes, the other part is like, do we look at social from the people who work in the factories or who work in and around the factories? Social also looks at when you look at social, it also looks at what is the product and services which a corporate or any organization produces. Is it conducive to people? Is what social includes. And environment is something like we need a planet to stay. So we can't avoid environment, but many a times it happens environment becomes the only focus and the social is like takes a back seat. Today I'm going to talk about some observations in my 30 years. I'm going to talk about 2 case studies, one about business and one about social. The business case study started with my thought on that started with when I visited Europe almost 15, 16 years back. And I was in Germany and I was just walking on the streets. And then I realized that if I had to, at that time maybe the Googles of the world was not there. It was all about people, but I missed people on the street who could actually guide me to a location where I was staying in a bed and breakfast type of a setup. Then when I came back, I said, I need to look more into it. And then I went into some research and observations, and I looked at Europe as a continent. What changed in the last 100 years? If you see, Europe actually dominated the entire globe. Why? Because Europe was the first continent where industrialization happened for the last 100 years. And because they were quite into a lot of research, a lot of industries prospered. And then maybe 30 years back, there were frameworks which the government, which UN, they started coming in. And that is where the ESG came in. Now, when the ESG came in, the biggest challenge for Europe was different than what you find for the other of countries. In ESG, if they had to add ESG, they had to take a very different call because most of the factories were already set up. The industrialization had happened. Now, when it comes to ESG, you need to shift from what were existing to adopting green technologies. Now, for Europe or European countries, it was a call, okay, how do you invest from a brownfield project to a greenfield project? It involved a lot of things, right from changing machinery, changing processes, changing people's skills. And that was a challenge which the European countries went through when they were adopting ESG. Now, what was the way out to adopt the frameworks? There were certain countries who adopted it. They tried to make change because maybe they had that capital to bring that change. But most of the companies looked at it from a different lens. They thought that if we have to have factories, if we still have to have business dominance, can we do one thing? Can we shift the production base from Europe to countries where they see a lot of opportunity because they could set up a greenfield project is like starting from scratch, which would be more, I would say, cost effective. Second, any which way I had to create skill capitals because new technology comes with upgraded skills. And in terms of cost of labor or skill, it was much more effective. But it created a major social problem. If you see the entire landmass of how opportunities are there in any country, 3 different sectors absorb people. One is agriculture, the second is manufacturing, third is service, and fourth is government. Now, when such a things happen, if you see industry is one of the core jobs absorbing thing because out of 100 people, there are almost 30 to 40% people who are either unskilled, semi-skilled, or skilled. And factories were places where their job opportunities were. With that change, that the factory shifting out of those locations created a larger social problem. Where do these people go? Either they have to upskill them or they're out of jobs. So this is, if you see the entire transitions which happened through Europe, today Europe or US are looking at bringing the factories back. Because now they realize that if they need to really absorb at least 60 to 70% of the population in employable jobs, then they need to bring factories, because factories are not just factories. Factories, there are a lot of supporting smaller factories, smaller businesses which are around these factories, which creates the sustainable model for those regions. We are at a journey where, if you see India is in a journey where we are looking at how do you bring this best practice of ESG into our country. Now, as young minds, there is a lot of innovation, there is a lot of research, there is a lot of understanding. We need to look at that, how do you bring ESG to the best where we can really innovate? That what do we change? Do we first try to go to the last mile in terms of traceability? Because ESG also talks of traceability. Where did you source it from? Where their labor practices followed, or where their practices followed which takes care of right from the input, what is the type of input was given for a particular product. Now this is very critical from an Indian perspective. When are we going to do that? Because if it's our MSME, the entire MSME sector is very unstructured today. So when we look at sustainability, how do you bring the sustainability angle to it? The government definitely is looking at bringing up MSME and SMEs to bring in processes, whether it is sourcing the right material, whether putting the right people with skills, whether we have the right risk to be taken care when this happens, because risk and insurance is something which is far beyond MSME and SMEs, because they don't even think that is a risk, because they are not aware about it. So from an Indian angle, I think the next Chetana is going to bring that angle. But for me, I made this observation. It may be true, it may not be true, but when we are looking at sustainability, it's not just about the corporate, it's not about the people who work, it's all about beyond the fence, across the fence and away from the fence. So we need to bring all of that as a part of thing. One more thing I would like to say is, every country is in certain stage of development. There are certain underdeveloped, developing and developed countries. So every country, based on their stage of development, should look at sustainability. How is it going to affect them if they have the right type of practices in place? Do they have it first? Do they have practices or policies in place? Do they have people who understand what is sustainability? Once this framework is created, more country specific, I think we can go to organization and then we can go to individuals. But unless we look at global goals, country specific goals, company goals or individual goals, sustainability is going to be more on paper. And to bring it to practice, it's going to be a challenge for all of us. I'll stop here for the business case. Let me go to something from a social angle. And this is something which is, we had been a part of that from a social perspective. How can innovation bring change? 5 years back, you must have heard stories that there were a lot of farmer suicides in India, in Maharashtra especially. So what was that was creating farmer suicides? So there was a research done by Tata Trust, and we were also a part of it. And government of Maharashtra was, I would say, the implementing partner. So that time we realized that for a farmer, his land is something which is nearest to his heart. Imagine a farmer losing his land. The end results may result into suicide because he doesn't have anything other than the land. The second part is, if you see a farmer, he's an entrepreneur. The land is his, the labor is his, fertilizer, every money input he puts is into the land. And tomorrow, due to some madman calamity or due to insects or due to some floods or something, his farm his crop is destroyed. Because there was no evidence, he never used to get the compensation, nor the insurance companies used to pay because insurance works on proof. So the second problem. And third problem was once these both things are lost, either I go into debt or I result into suicide. Now, what was the smallest innovation which was thought and brought? So we worked on an app called ePick Pahani. Pick Pahani is crop reporting. E is electronic crop reporting. We started a pilot which covered 9 districts, 7 lakh farmers. The pilot was 9 districts, 7 lakh farmers. Me and Nilesh, we actually went to the last mile doing research for almost 2 years to understand that how will a farmer adopt technology. We created a simple app which delivered 3 things. First thing was, when the app is downloaded, the farmer could download his Sadbara, just putting his gut Kramang or survey number, or he can search it by his name, because maybe not everyone knows the gut Kramang, but you can go to the level and search maybe Nike, and you'll find Nikes and you can select. So the first problem of his was land on hand, whereby he comes to know that his name is on the Sadbara. So he is happy that the land is still owned by him, and if he sees any name other than those who are on the land, he can always go to the government and ask to do the change. The second part was that once that Sadbara come, there was a geofencing which was there, on which from sowing to harvesting today, the crop reporting happens. So each stage of farm crop goes to the government servers, and they are able to see the crop. And then the crop details are pushed to a Talati, which is a revenue officer, who does a crop audit. So this crop audit becomes a proof of verification that that crop existed. And if the crop is destroyed, that another photo goes. And this becomes a proof for sending the scheme money or the insurance to the farmer. This completely changed the perspective of the farming. Farmers of Maharashtra are using this application.
Let's give a round of applause for our guest of honor. Thank you, sir, for inspiring all of us.
It gives us great pleasure to introduce our chief guest, Mr. Chetana Kalia, partner, EY and national leader, climate change and sustainability. It's an absolute honor to welcome Mr. Chetana Kalia, a distinguished leader in sustainability, climate strategy and responsible business transformation to our research conference today. Mr. Kalia is a partner at Ernst & Young and serves as the national leader for climate change and sustainability, one of the most critical and consequential roles in India's corporate landscape. He has led various assignments spanning ESG frameworks, green finance, climate risk advisory, and sustainable business strategy across India's most prominent organizations. He was one of the key voices shaping India's corporate sustainability agenda. As on date, Mr. Kalia leads EY's national practice on climate change and sustainability, driving transformative conversations at the intersection of business performance and environmental responsibility. Mr. Kalia's domain is sustainability strategy, and he is keen contributor to several national and international climate dialogues. Today, we are privileged to have Mr. Chetana with us, sharing his invaluable insights on sustainable futures, innovation in business practices, and the imperative of responsible leadership. Sir, we request you to kindly address the gathering.
Share and take sustainability as a career. So thank you, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Patil, wonderful speech by Mr. Nayak. Thank you so much. What I want to do therefore is kind of have a dialogue with all the students. So I'll start with a few questions. For example, have you guys heard of something called as James Webb Telescope? Anyone? Please.
I've heard about James Webb telescope, which was launched in around 2019, I guess. And I don't exactly remember about the data and all, but it was very important for India and the world to work upon.
Yeah, a bit more about it. So it's a telescope which is launched about 2.5 years before by US, and many scientists of several countries, they have contributed to it. It is an infrared spectroscopy telescope because you can then send it to the outer Earth, and then it can see inert material of various kinds, which is difficult to see because our atmosphere interferes with the telescope on the Earth. So that is the second latest after Hubble telescope. How far it can see is about 13, 14 billion light years. So you can imagine, unimaginable then. It kind of generates, 50 gigabyte of data every hour. And it's now about close to 3 years it is sending that data. So much of data is being gathered, and it is open source kind of thing. Every scientist can ask that data and they research on it and try out, what's happening in the outer, space. That's the whole idea. Second question. Have you heard about quantum computing? Okay, so with regular computing, it is a modern age. There are companies like IBM, Google, they have their own, like Willow, Nighthawk, these are the names of the computer, which is really, really fast. It's like 1 year's computing can be done in few hours. So what has happened? This amount of data which James Webb Telescope is gathering, it has been fed into this quantum computer to see that, okay, we are not able to analyze so much of data coming from outer space, but is there slightest hope, slightest possibility of anywhere else where we can find, human being, forget about human being, something similar to Mother Earth. They did that. No, they could not find. So in summary, what I want to emphasize, we have only one Earth. All right? In spite of the best of the technology, best of the technological frontier trying out, so far, we have not been able to find out anything similar to Earth anywhere. Closest to it, nothing. So that's what's happening, and what we are doing, we are consuming whatever Earth can produce. I'm sure you have heard of the Earth Overshoot Day. That means whatever Earth can produce, we consume it by about 15th of August, 14th, 15th August, and every year that change date is becoming shorter. So saying suppose what ideally we should have saved, we are not doing that. So I'm not getting into technical balance, but the whole idea is that we are consuming quite a lot. So we all want development, we all want prosperity, we all want everything which is possible, research is happening, but at every such thing, what we are doing is using the resources of our Earth. This is the problem. While we do that, scientists, if you see mostly again the European countries, they have identified that there are many Earth boundaries that we have breached. And if we continue to do that, we won't survive. Generally we talk about save the Earth. Please change that. Earth will continue. We will not survive. So that is the point. And some of the typical boundary, if I give example, is that when they talked about greenhouse gas. So we have so much of accumulation of greenhouse gases that the Earth temperature will increase. Now we have so much of computing power. Of course, we can simulate the Earth atmosphere. We know, predict the weather, predict the impact of climate change, etc. And it's definitely very, very scary, I would say. Similarly, it's about water. The fresh water is only 3% we know. So all of that is getting consumed, getting polluted. So that's also boundary is kind of a breached already. Biodiversity, very, very interesting. You can imagine that we are doing gene technology, etc. But once a species is lost, you cannot revive it. It's just not possible. So, and that is, I believe, is a crime almost akin to killing someone, because you are not killing a person. All the endangered species are getting lost, and it is not only about the animals or fauna. It's also about flora. The plant species, etc. So that is one area. We even don't know what we are because of the development, killing them. So what I'm doing here, sitting in front of a business school whose primary is supposed to make, train them to make a lot of money, excellent career, etc., and giving a lecture about, development is not that great. I think that's where the role of sustainability professional like me, and now I'm hoping all of you, comes in. Guide people what to do, how to do, where to do, and it's conference like this, and I saw we just opened a book. I'm sure there's a lot of innovative ideas, many things are coming, because this is one area, I would say, again I say it's a sales pitch, so from the future of sustainability is also a future-proof career. When I'm saying that, because not for anything else, just because the size, shape, complexity of the problem is so large, that one single fraternity, one single department, one single knowledge cannot bring in. Probably a computational electronic scientist, probably a social scientist, a psychologist, variety of, fraternity, they have to come together to probably solve one small problem, if you can at all solve it. So this is what is the key thing, and, as a result, the example story about me is that This is what, about 30 years, and out of that I was abroad, then came back and joined my present organization. All this 26, 27 years now, I am working only in the area of sustainability. That's it, nothing else, because it's too much of work. There is hardly any large organization. Why I'm saying large? Because they are large, their impact of their operations, the prosperity they want to bring in is very high. So therefore, most of the large organizations in India and several abroad, I would have worked. What I'm trying to say is the common thing. People want to do, they want to know what I should do. And the answers are very, very complex. It's so complex that just give it up. It's nahi hoga. Let's look at our quarterly result, annual result, and just be happy about it. But if you ask them, can you make a product which is sustainable? Definitely, everyone wants to do it. So in summary, if I see 2, 3 years, 5 years, maybe a little longer also, time horizon, we need to solve few problems, at least from the India perspective, and one of them is about, very up to date, and I want to talk about it for a moment, is about the energy transition. Everyday news we are talking about, the war is going on, it's all about energy security basically. That is something we need to solve. And unless we do that, variety of solutions are there. Many of the solutions have not been technically tested. Many of the solutions are not economically viable, etc., etc. I mean, that's the problem. So we need to solve with R&D, we need to solve with commercial model, we need to solve with something which is innovative, not tried, tested, and that gives opportunity to individual, opportunity to organization, because the problem is so large and the problem is so real that it needs to be solved. Right? Nobody was looking at today, just statistically, the induction cooker is cheap, very cheap. To buy it is cheaper cost-wise. To operate it is almost half the cost of the subsidized gas, which we use, cooking gas. But we don't use it. But today, if you go and try to buy induction cooker, you won't find it. Because of the gas scarcity, all has been sold. Okay, so I'm saying that these are the opportunities. I don't know how an entrepreneur like you would capitalize it, but just an example. But there are various such examples, and the idea is to just say that at least as in India, the energy transition as a theme is going to be there for really, really long time, and unless we do that, the real prosperity for our country will not come. Because a substantial part we have done far better in that. I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to say that the problem which is real, it will help to solve our energy security issue. It will help to, the net zero target for government of India, which by the way is farthest, 2070 we have taken. We can make a political claim, but ultimately all our next generation, they are going to suffer. We know that. I am not going to that theory of what does it mean. The second thing is, which probably each one of us have to have some sort of a personal commitment, is about using sustainable product and services. Earlier used to, when I would have a conversation with a business group or a CEO, he will say, you are giving all this gyan, but if I am making a sustainable product, it's going to cost me more. Is anyone is going to pay? Probably the answer is no, so why should I make it? The discussion will stop here, but that with the new generation or the young generation we talked about is going to change. So none of the product which is if not sustainable, probably you have always running a risk that the product, and I'm saying product, it also includes services, it also includes any activity which is, you are doing to make money. If it is not sustainable by nature, it will not survive. And again, I can give variety of example, the moment, and it's a kind of a need of the day. So these two things combined is going to take a lot of time, energy, effort, various, economic model, and all that is going to happen. So when you start from the very top, what I mean by very top in the business is probably a policy making. Policy could be for government, policy could be for individual industries, all of that. It starts from there. So huge opportunity again to make even a policy. And when I started my career, the regulations and policies, those were about factories. So we used to call end of pipe treatment. So chimney cannot emit so much of emission. The effluent treatment plant cannot emit so much of that. But how much? I mean, there has to be some residual emission, maybe 10 ppm, 20 ppm. So all new regulations which are already coming in last 10 years and next subsequent year, they are all going to be in the public domain. Because that's where the issue related to environmental safeguard or everything else is there. It's not going to be in the factory. Example, plastic pollution. Example, we talked about in the room, battery, we are using EV, so what happens to the battery? So battery recycling, even the vehicle, 15 years we know end of the life vehicle has to be recycled. Anything you think about, it is about, building material, it is about, even the people, if we are dying, the animal carcass, everything end of life is responsibility of the producer. So we talk the word PIBO, which is producer, brand owner and importers also. So that's where the extended producer responsibility comes. But the whole idea is that, what I'm trying to say, the policies will guide that the public health, public perception about environment, all has to change. In that environment, whatever product services we are doing has to meet those requirements. Otherwise it won't work. Probably days will come that, okay, if I'm buying a car, I will think through, okay, what will happen after 15 years? Will I be able to get, able to sell it properly? Or, anyway, we know what is the fate of the diesel cars has happened recently, and it can happen in variety of cases that I can cite. So these two things, energy transition as well as every product services which has to be responsible. So what as an individual, as a young people sitting in the room needs to do? I think number one is that for your future, for your, I said, career as a future proof, whichever area you choose, all of them will have an element of sustainability, whether you are choosing to be a career in HR, you want to be a banker, you want to be a engineer, you want to be a AI scientist, whichever area you choose. Anything I have spoken, everyone has a lot of work to do to make their surrounding, their business, their home sustainable. So it's a collective responsibility and very, very important that we think about it from the day one. Right now, maybe you're already doing, I'm sure you all are bright and committed students, so I'm sure you are doing it already. But that is something I want to very clearly say that that's what I've seen, all these 30, 40 years, whichever I have started working in this area. This is what I've seen, and I can throw a lot of data. Those companies who has worked that, they have changed their product, they have made their services, you also know them. I don't want to name here them. They are doing well. Their market cap has increased, their valuation has increased, several things has happened to them. And otherwise is also true, those who have ignored it, they have suffered. There's an interesting book, How Mighty Falls. This is the core of it. So all mighty organizations fall, but why they fall is because of the elements of ESG we talked about, which is neglecting environment, neglecting people, or neglecting governance. And if you do all these things, whichever you can use term sustainability, you can use term ESG or whatever, it survives, it gives a lot of value to everyone, and that's what I myself has dedicated my career, my time to this. I just hope that many of you will choose to do that. That's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for inspiring all of us. May we request CEO ma'am to present our speakers with a memento as a mark of our gratitude. Mr. Chaitanya Kalia, sir. And Mr. Nitin Naik, sir.
We'll be starting the panel discussion in a few moments. Request the dignitaries to kindly be seated on the front row. Thank you.
So while the stage is being set for the next panel, I would just like to commit to Mr. Chaitanya Kalia that what he has come to do here, it is our honor to be a part of that process of giving our students the chance and the exposure so that they become more and more sensitive towards the world and they do become the environmentalists in their own way. So Mr. Kalia, thank you so much for giving this opportunity to the students. I would also like to mention, can I have this folder? This folder that most of the people are going to get, the delegates, I would just like to mention that this is one of our small cute initiative where the Army of Kashmir, they support the SHGs as well as the young students are trained for vocational activities, and this folder has been made from the collected garbage bags, cleaned and structured, and then crushed plastic has been made into a folder. And so we thought that for this conference we should be giving the folders which are so sustainable and so environmental friendly. So they are not only cleaning the environment in Kashmir, they are also producing something out of it. So we just thought that we'll give the, it's our salute to Army initiative. That's all that is.
We're excited to commence the next segment of our conference, the panel discussion. To help us understand further the profound impact of sustainable business transformation on organizations and society, our panel discussion will have industry experts discuss how resilient enterprises are reshaping business models, embracing responsible practices, and driving purposeful innovation. The conversation will also highlight the impact of sustainability and digital transformation on society at large. It gives us great pleasure to introduce our speakers. We have Advocate Berzin Somandi, founder and managing partner, Somandi and Associates, Advocates. Mr. Berzin is the founder and managing partner of the international award-winning law firm Somandi and Associates, an alumnus of Boston College, USA, and Government Law College, Mumbai. He is also qualified solicitor in England and Wales. During his time at Government Law College, he was awarded the most degree. Mr. Somandi has authored syndicated columns on environmental law featured in Oxford series and has also written India chapter in the American Bar Association's book on global liability laws. Over the course of his career, he has appeared before several courts and tribunals, both nationally and internationally, in matters that have contributed to development of the law. He has delivered guest lectures at Government Law College and the University Department, Chemical Technology. In recognition of his contribution to a lecture series on the interplay between law, environment, and technology, he was made an honorary lifetime alumnus of UDCT. Mr. Somandi has served an advanced liability law regime in India, with a particular focus on insurance law. He was also part of special delegation appointment by the Dutch government to examine fair manufacturing standards in the textile industry and prevention of child labor. I would now request Dr. Manjula Shastri, the co-convener, to kindly welcome Advocate Somandi with a sapling. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Niranjan Bal is a seasoned professional with diverse experience spanning technology strategy, market development, and innovation ecosystems. He has been associated with forward-looking organizations where he played a pivotal role in identifying and building strategic market opportunities. Currently, he serves as Director of Strategic Markets at Leases Technologies, driving growth and expanding the company's footprint in new domains. His domain is technology-led market strategy, and he has been a key contributor to how organizations leverage innovation to stay competitive and relevant. I would now request Dr. Rinku Sharma ma'am to kindly welcome Mr. Niranjan Bal with a sapling. Mr. Suhas Mahaskar is a seasoned professional with extensive experience spanning business leadership and technology architecture. He has been associated with multiple organizations where he played a pivotal role in driving operational excellence and digital transformation. Currently, he serves simultaneously as CEO of Accentino and CTO of the Octave Group, a rare combination that makes him uniquely placed to speak on both the business and technology dimensions of transformation. His domain is digital strategy and business innovation, and he has been a key contributor to building organizations that are fit for the future. I would request Siddhi ma'am to kindly welcome Mr. Suhas Mahaskar sir with the sapling. The panel discussion will be moderated by our very own Dr. Nandita Mishra ma'am, Director CIMR. For further proceedings, I would request Dr. Nandita Mishra ma'am to kindly take over the discussion from here.
So good afternoon to all of you. So you have got a very fair introduction of our panelists here. And we have been also deliberating and discussing what this panel discussion is going to be. To begin with, without using much of the jargons of sustainability, resilience, SDG, ESG, and all of that, there are students here, sir, we would like to tell you that. And it was good when we had the discussion, you mentioned that you would like more questions coming from that's what you had mentioned, from them, than we speaking. But at the same time, they must also understand that what is sustainability, because a few years back, we were talking about CSR, and then in the middle, we started talking about sustainability. And today we are also debating and deliberating on ESG. So to begin with, there are a list of questions and we would go with different rounds. So in round 1, we will have from one of the speakers. And in round 2, we will change the order of the speakers. And again in round 3 and round 4 and so on and so forth. So as this panel discussion will bring together industry leaders, and this is moderated by an academician, what we learn from the industry leaders and what question I often face in classes, how are they going to implement this? So the opening, the first round and the first question goes to the person sitting just next to me, because let's keep that order if we can keep. The business world today is characterized by volatility and rapid change. From your perspective, what are the major disruptions shaping business today? Major disruption, and the major one we all know what's there, but to begin with, we would like to know how is it characterized and what are your perspective in this current situation, sir?
Thank you, and thanks to the Institute for inviting us over here. More from industry, I would say we are all practitioners. Few years back, we were sitting like you in a college, learning about things. Then we happened to enter into industry and then we started practicing things. Certain things we succeeded, certain things we failed as well. To answer your question, about a few years back, I heard the word called VUCA, right? So we said volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. And said, we in the industry are always known to coin some, acronyms so that, it feels good. You create ESG, you create DSG and several things like that. So this is one such world, but I have a question to all the audience. Who in the audience knew on 27th of February that on the very next day, a major conflict closer to India is going to start? None of us were aware. So we started working in an industry where the only problem was what my competitor is doing. So I had to base my offering based on what my competitor is offering. I never had to bother about some war happening somewhere in the world. Of course, government laws and regulation did affect us, and therefore we were always waiting for that budget day to make sure that nothing is being declared that is going to affect my industry. But currently, the biggest volatility or the biggest uncertainty that has come is the geopolitical things which are happening in the world. I come from an automotive background, worked in Mahindra Group for a fairly long time, and I believe in 2000, some consultant came and told us that oil is going to cease to exist in this world by 2030. So there's not going to be any oil. Imagine we are in 2026. Two recent conflicts of war happened because of oil, both the Maduro case, South America, and now the Gulf country. So 2026, another 4 years' time, we were told the oil stocks in the world are going to end, but we are still fighting on oil. And what happens when such geopolitical things happen? Because somewhere in 1990, as a world, we took a call to become global. Our supply chains become global. Prior to that, especially in India, we came from a background where we were talking about sustainability in a very different way. There was a concept of 5 villages together, and they would do things which are complementary for those 5 villages. So they do not have to step out and buy something from outside. They become self-sustainable. We left that long time back. 1990, when we entered the world globalization phase, our supply chains extended. So my supply chain sitting in Mahindra was earlier limited to Mumbai, then Maharashtra, then it became national, and slowly it entered up to China. So things started coming from China. Now, whenever a disruption like a war or something happens, my supply chain gets disrupted. And as an executive, as an industry person sitting, now this is a new dimension that I have to think of, which I never thought of earlier. Because I don't know when something is going to stop, and on the fly, I will have to figure out a solution to solve that problem and continue my company working together. And add to that the complexity that you are saying now. Now, I don't know for these last 20 days of war which is going on, what's happening to ESG. You know, the amount of carbon dioxide which is being emitted in those countries, or for that matter, the alternative routes that we are finding to get our material, we are adding more and more to the environmental pollution. So something that, I don't know whether I answered your question, but that's the kind of uncertainty, volatility that we have come to live with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Since there are two things that you have said, one is the industry is very good at framing acronyms, and the other one is what is our emphasis on E. So this question is for Mr. Barzan. The evolution of E in the ESG, looking at whether in the current context we can speak, or what has happened when we are talking about the energy transition. So if you would like to help us understand how exactly we focus on E, because it's instead of acronyms, it has to be something that is doable.
So, good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Hello, hello.
Good morning, everybody. Can everybody hear me clearly? Yes. Thank you very much for having me here today. So environment is something that really is very close to my heart, and it's a little ironic that 30 years after I started, I'm back talking about the environment. So if you look at environment, right, there are 3 pillars really of ESG, but all 3 pillars, in my perspective, are essentially based on a very basic foundational element. And the foundational element is the law. The law really dictates each one of the ESG pillars, be it environment, be it the social aspect, or be it the governance aspect. Now, since we are on the E of the ESG, How many of you all here in this audience, if anyone can tell me, which was the most cathartic environmental event that our country has faced so far? Can anybody in the audience answer that for me? Anybody? So most of you all perhaps were not around when we faced what is known as the Bhopal gas leak disaster. Thank you. So Bhopal really was, where in Madhya Pradesh there was a Union Carbide factory, and there was gas that leaked. And as a consequence of the gas that leaked, there were several people not only at the scene of that incident that lost their lives and suffered irreparable damage, but in fact, studies have indicated that that event has led to a generational shift where even 2 and 3 generations down, the effect of that pollution is being felt in that area. When the Bhopal gas leak disaster happened, we did not have a very active environmental legislation. We didn't have a legislative framework that dealt with the various aspects of environmental pollution. We were not even capable of trying that element of the disaster in the courts in India. Now, as young leaders of tomorrow, this becomes extremely important for you, because one of the key elements of compliance really is based on the deterrent theory, that how do you deter somebody into compliance? Because compliance can be either something that comes from within the organization, or compliance can be something that is forced upon an organization. So very close on the heels of the Bhopal gas leak disaster, we had another gas leak that took place, which is commonly called the oleum gas leak case. And this is where chlorine leaked out in a plant at the Delhi cloth mills. Fortunately, that matter came to be tried by the courts in India. And that matter led to the start of environmental jurisprudence in our country. And the reason is that there were 3 very clear principles that came to be laid down as a consequence of that matter being tried in India. The first of the principles is the polluter pays principle. Now, what that means is that if at all you are a polluter, then you are responsible to pay as a consequence of your actions. The second principle that came was the principle of no fault liability. And what that meant, and a lot of you all will perhaps become part of industry in the future, you will be part of manufacturing in the future, etc. For you, this is particularly important, that if you are involved in an industry that is inherently dangerous, where the activity that the industry indulges in is inherently dangerous, then there is a principle of no fault liability, which means that if there is any act of pollution that emanates from that industry, inconsequential to the safeguards that is taken by the industry is held liable if there is an act of pollution. And the third, and this was an extremely, I think, path-breaking principle that came to be laid down by the courts, is that the quantum of liability that a company has to pay to the people who are affected as a consequence of the act of pollution is not to the extent of the damage that is caused to the people, but the ability of that company to pay, which is commonly known as the deep pocket theory. So essentially, therefore, what happened was that there was a paradigm shift in the concept of attribution of liability in the event of environmental pollution. Now, very, very soon on the heels of Bhopal is when we actually had codified legislation that came into being. Because prior in point of time, we had only the Air Act and we had the Water Act. The government realized that it was extremely important to have a generic act that dealt with various forms of pollution. And therefore, we had what was then known as the Environmental Pollution Act, the EPA, which came into play. And that covered various forms of pollution. Now, prior in point of time to this, various forms of pollution came to be very generically covered. So we had the Indian Penal Code, and I was recollecting what Ms. Patil started saying during the course of the introduction to this session, which is that we were raised on the premise that kachra, if you throw kachra, that's your kachra, pick it up. Now, we had the Indian Penal Code, which is an 1860 code, which prescribed for the act of nuisance, and which said that if at all today you are throwing kachra outside somebody else's door, then you are indulging in an act which is a criminal act, which is the act of nuisance. So we had codified legislation which was non-specific legislation dealing with the particular acts of pollution. But through Bhopal, we then found that what happened was that legislation then came to be prescribed. Now, insofar as prescribing legislation really, there are three elements really that can be looked at insofar as prescriptive legislation as well. One is on the aspect of you deter somebody from doing an act, and you put fear of deterrence in somebody as a consequence of being punished for the purposes of committing that act. The second is compliance criteria. So therefore, there is compliance that is now imposed so that you're preventing further commissions of the act. But we have now had a very paradigm shift away from that module, and that is through the concept of ESG, where we are now rewarding people who comply. And rewarding people who comply is not really a deterrent, it is adding value. So in the value chain of economics, essentially what you're looking at is that companies now who comply are given additional value. There are companies that are specifically listed as green companies. And this really is a value addition to these companies. And adding to what Mr. Maskar, one of my co-panelists said, look at it in the backdrop of war, correct? We, unfortunately, all are based on the premise of energy dependence. More and more, I think the paradigm should be energy independence rather than energy dependence. And there are very, I was reading a lot before I came here for the purposes of this conference, just to refresh. And I came across so many case studies where now industries are becoming self-sufficient insofar as energy is concerned. So a lot of industries are focusing on power generation through solar, utilization of maybe their waste product to not fill landfills, and that really adds value. So I think, therefore, environment really is one of the pillars on which ESG is built, that more from a deterrent has now become a value-add proposition.
Yeah, so I think that has added a lot of perspective to your understanding of ESG, starting with E, what does it really mean, environment focus. And we also got to know about what in general terms you all have known as a cost-benefit analysis and the utilitarianism, because you spoke about the E factor also there. But as you also said that it is more than a deterrent, now it is becoming like rewarding. Something to the company that practices ESG. So my question to you, Mr. Niranjan, is then how do we integrate sustainability into the company? It could be a big company, it could be something large, and we look beyond these compliances and check boxes. Okay, I have done, instead of those check boxes, the company actually says that, yes, this is what is my ESG, or at least the E factor, because we are still in E. So maybe next we'll move to the other alphabets.
First of all, thank you for being invited here, and I hope everybody is having a great time. As you rightly said, compliance is a checkbox. But why is the E a compliance, is the question. E is something which has to be the DNA of an organization, DNA of a person, DNA of a system that you are developing, and it should be practiced rather than looked upon as a checkbox and looked upon as a compelling factor rather than a acceptance factor. So the E factor is getting important because there is a lot of disruption which is happening around us. And today's disruption is not just about an app or just about a shift in the market or something. It is basically a fundamental decoupling which is happening in the world. And as Mr. Suhas and everybody rightly said, the war has taken this to a next level. So when there is war, there's only destruction, not even just disruption. So where is the E going to lie? Now, as you say, smaller organizations or bigger organizations, they are driven by the geopolitical scenario. So if you are peaceful, your organization is doing well, you're making good money, people think about all the good things. But when it comes to basic food, clothing, and shelter, people don't think about it. In your question, you said, could you please repeat the question for me?
How does true sustainability integration look beyond compliances and check boxes?
Right. Now, what do you mean by true sustainability? Is sustainability, anything you do is sustainability. So now, how do you deal with this? And basically, looking beyond compliance for sustainability comes from a human nature, a discipline, a way of living, I would say. So it's not just about organizations looking beyond sustainability. It is we as people looking beyond sustainability in various, I would say, positions, various roles we are in. As a human being, as an employee of a good organization, can be anything, as a leader for that matter. Sustainability comes from there. Sustainability is not a thought, it is a practice, it is a discipline. So now, as we were talking of the bounds, and the speed of technology is much higher than the speed of a human adaptability to technology also. So that's where, the gap lies, and that's where, like we have, good systems like, ERPs in our, your systems in your organization. How are we looking, like for example, I come from a metals and mining industry, and there were 4 new greenfield projects which were happening, and I was looking at the IT of that. I have seen how much sustainability bigger groups like Aditya Birla, Tatas, are practicing in terms of, like, you acquire hectares of land. Those people were living, in environments which were not really sustainable, not really great. Though we say that, they live along with the mother nature. So they made this, effort of relocating those locals there where the plants were coming, making new colonies and factories, schools and everything for them, and giving them a sustainable life. This now was a part of our IT. Now, this is how, technology and sustainability were getting married. So that's basically, the way organizations bigger and smaller can look at it. We can look at environmental sustainability. We've spoken about green IT. We have spoken about green organizations. So that's one way we can look at it. If anybody has any question for me, or if I've digressed somewhere.
We have we'll open the house for questions after we are done with the rounds, because we are still with E, and you all can understand what is the importance of E, and especially in a situation like now when everyone is going to talk about the war, the impact that it is creating, the lives that it is affecting. So we go to the second round, and which I would like to start with you, Mr. Berzin. And the question is, when we talk about S, because immediately after E we have S, and we understand S social is so important, is it that S is something statutorily mandated, self-regulated, or we feel, as Mr. Niranjan also pointed out, and all of you mentioned, that it is not something of a checkbox. It is about the ethical practices, the business ethical practices. So your idea on, your perspective on what S there actually means?
It's interesting, but I think S is really a marriage of quite a few different elements. I again throw a question to the audience, particularly the younger students, some older as well, but mostly younger. How many of you all wear ripped jeans? Anybody wear ripped jeans? Ripped jeans with, the
here.
cuts?
They don't wear it to the institute?
No, not here, but generally.
Outside, yeah.
How many of you all,
I think all of them
just give me a show of hands. How many of you all wear ripped jeans? All? Almost all? Many of you all? Well, okay, so, I remember in the 1990s, right? I was sitting with the Dutch Prime Minister, and we were having a discussion on ripped jeans. And the reason why this discussion became pertinent was that some of the people who were wearing ripped jeans in Europe found that brand new jeans had blood stains on them. So he posed a question to me. He said that, do you know where these jeans are manufactured in India? And 1990s, unfortunately, we did not have Chat GPT. So one had to actually go and read and find out. And we found out that these jeans were manufactured in a small area in Bangalore, just a little outside Bangalore, called Hosur. So we, incognito, the Prime Minister and me decided that let's take a visit. So we took a visit and we went to this plant, manufacturing plant in Hosur. And we saw that the jeans, and these are very popular brands. I mean, some of the most luxury brands in India now, in Europe, etc. These jeans that were manufactured were then sent to sweatshops. And there were little children who were given blades. And it's extremely sad. With the blades, they had to cause tears on the jeans. And when they were causing these tears on the jeans, their fingers were getting cut and the blood was coming onto the thread of the jeans. And these jeans were then being sold. Now, look at the irony. A visit, this was just two of us on a visit to a factory. We then escalated this matter into the Fair Trade Practice Commission in Europe. And we were then appointed on behalf of the European Fair Trade Commission to actually have fair standard of manufacture. So there was a boycott in Europe where all of the North American markets said that unless and until fair standards of manufacture are not indicated, they will not purchase the jeans any longer. And that created a dynamic where social, I think, change and social pressure led to compliance on a local level, where there was a boycott to buy jeans from these manufacturers who use child labor as a consequence of manufacturing these jeans. So if you look at the S, some of it is social, right? So this is the social impact of S. I will also give you the example, a father of a 12-year-old boy contacted me 3 days ago. And he said, my son needs legal advice. So a 12-year-old child, I mean, what legal advice would this boy want? And this boy is very confident, 12-year-old child. He tells me, Uncle, I have started a website. And the website is essentially an exchange website, not for profit. I said, what do you exchange? He's saying, look, I mean, I have clothes, I have toys, I have books. There are so many people like me across the country who do not have access to toys, clothes, books, etc. Can I start a free exchange process where anybody who has toys, clothes, books, what have you, can exchange it through my website, so I can have a geolocator to have geolocation of people within a particular area who can then enter into this exchange. Now, this is the social impact, right? And this is not statutorily mandated. It is not legally mandated. Now you look at the legal impact. I find it, and this is something I often do. So I run a law firm where predominantly the lawyers are only women. And I have a daughter who has now become a lawyer. And I keep asking her the same question over and over again, that how many women lawyers and women judges do you see in this country? Unfortunately, there is no law that requires a certain number. But in your area of expertise, I'm guessing all of you all here are management students, and you are going to enter the management's mainstream. Now the law has mandated that there have to be women representatives on a board. Now that is social impact that is now being brought about through legislative change. And it's amazing that we have now reached the stage where we have at least begun to recognize that women need to play a more active role in boards of companies. And now the law is mandating this movement. The law is mandating this change. So I think it's a marriage of various aspects. It's not only the legislative impact, but also social change that dictates really the S of the ESG framework.
Yeah, thank you. While discussing S, we have discussed a very positive thing about what we heard about the 12-year-old boy, and something that we have as an unfair trade practice. And let me tell you, it was not in the 90s when you visited. I think we have, even now, we have been said among the 16 countries, we still have the unfair trade practices. So who is going to take away these unfair trade practices now? Who is going to remove all of that? Because our students do study the organization and the individual. That means as an individual, what they can do to the organization, and what also the organization should mandate. So my question to you, Mr. Niranjan, is What strategies should be adopted by business and entrepreneurs to navigate in this current scenario or in the future? And how do you think these business leaders are going to look at it? What strategies do the businesses, plan to navigate in these uncertain times?
Well, I would say for the business leaders, it should be a vectoral leadership. We should know the direction we are taking. The speed in which things are changing is very high. And to adapt to the speed, we have to be very clear in which direction we have to go. Now, current uncertainty, I mean, that's very abstract kind of a question, because current uncertainty, we are looking at war, geopolitical situations. But what exactly are we talking about uncertainty? There was a time when we used to say things are just in time. Now we are, in fact, in this world we are saying just in case they are in time. No, that's something which is, because like I'll quote some, war-related examples which I was reading, hearing, and I'm not very sure of which exact locations it has happened. The way Iran has started, I mean, I didn't really want to name, but okay, Iran has started fighting is they are disrupting the basic things. Entire of Middle East was a transportation hub, a hub where, oil used to come, used to go from there, or yeah, the trade zone. So what they have bombed are all the basic things. Now, I come from technology, so what got my attention was they have started bombing data centers for all the bigger cloud providers. And all major technology providers are getting directly impacted because the data centers, the cloud is getting bombed. AWS edge location getting bombed, Azure location, whichever. I mean, I'm just quoting names for example's sake. Now comes the leadership part, which ma'am has been asking. How would leaders shape? Imagine we have adapted to the cloud. We have gone to the cloud saying that there is a lot of monetary saving we have, and there are so many advantages of cloud and everything. Your cloud location is getting bombed, your service provider is not able to give you service. So are you now looking at a backup for cloud, a cloud for a cloud? Or are you now again looking at going back to a on-premise kind of a situation? Or you want to go to a hybrid model where I now want to keep my data with me also. I mean, I do want my data on cloud, but I still want the data with me also. And the data which has gone on cloud has now again to go to some other cloud. What if cloud A is getting bombed? I want cloud B. But my plan one is the data of, having data with myself. Now, these are the VUCA word which we are using, volatility, uncertainty, everything what we are talking about. So now these are the kind of situations which are coming. So leaders have now to be very practical. They have to think about scenarios. And that's where I mentioned just in case it's in time, Cloud cannot be that. You're talking of a bank. It is 24/7. Your disruption is going to impact each and everybody in the world, One big RBI goes down. I don't know what's going to happen, or a Bombay Stock Exchange kind of a thing is going down. So now this is how, so now leaders have to think in this direction, a typical vectorial way of leading, that this is what I want to do. I'm very clear about this, and how I'm going to bridge the gap between the velocity of human transformation and technology transformation. Do we now want to restrict the technology transformation to some extent to give the human transformation some space, or how do we want to go? So these are the kind of thoughts which now leaders are going to have. And that's my perspective around it.
Yeah, thank you. So as we all know, and most of you in this room are aware of the 17 SDG goals. But a question I'm often asked in the classes, now how a particular organization is to select, okay, this is going to be my, SDG goal. So if you could help us on that how do organizations actually mandate their SDG, what they should be looking at, what is the metrics that one should focus?
One need to look at the progress, the way social came into picture. So initially when the company started, or the concept of firm came into picture, we had shareholders. They were investing money. And what business was doing is to giving returns to the shareholders. So there's where the concept of profit is what initially started. And then as we moved ahead, we realized that while making profit, while showing my balance sheet, I'm eroding a lot of stuff from the environment. I'm eroding a lot of stuff from my community, and that is not getting reflected anywhere. So in order to make profit and give returns to my stakeholders, my shareholders, I'm actually ruining a lot of stuff around. There's where the concept of ESG slowly started. Believe me, there's a person called Paul Polman. He's an ex-Unilever CEO. He's doing a lot of stuff. So those of you who want to know about sustainability, just go and see what this guy is trying to do. The sustainable practices of the world coming from a large multinational company which probably eroded the planet to a great extent, right? So from this, just one concept of shareholder, when we started thinking of stakeholders, different people, different communities started coming in the picture. Your business acts in a particular zone of the world, you know. So may it be, you know, nearer to a nearer. Are you doing with you? I mean, that's basic.
Vedanta also.
Correct.
Exactly.
And are you also in the process taking care of, I'm going to do my, needs to be thought is an investment you're looking, is proper return that you're looking at, looking as a resource. I think Chaitanya spoke about this and we were very good at one thing, you know, we very quickly create matrices and start following them. But I believe the way every leader, and this probably, I'm using this forum to go a little bit beyond your question and to talk to the students in a different way. One has to look at sustainability, one, looking at the nature, second, looking at the human body. Look at the human body. We abuse it so much. Still, every day it takes into its cycle. You sleep, your toxins are taken out of your body, and you're fresh to do your work the very next day. So it's a 24-hour cycle, and everybody gets the same cycle. So if we just, rather than, you know, studying any book or something, we just observability cycle, and we are going to report in our businesses to make sure that what we had yesterday morning is available to us this morning. Forget about leaving something in 2070 for our kids or 2050 for our kids. We need to look at least whether I'm becoming net positive now. Forget about what we will do it in future. And if every leader start thinking from that perspective, looking at every social element that is dealing with your business, I think that will create a major change. Thank you.
I hope you have understood now exactly where S means, that is social means, and all the speakers have spoken about S. And to be very frank, we have also heard and seen studied cases of caveat emptor, caveat vendor. Then we have done that. We have understood what is consumer ethics, what is marketing ethics. We have also seen what is advertising ethics. And I think in more or less in different words of ESG, you have spoken about where your social stands for here. Now we go to the most important round of this, that is the way forward. And in the way forward, what is required is governance. But I'll go from this side with Mr. Suhas asking you that, looking ahead, what will define successful and responsible business in the next decade? Because these people are going to join the successful and the next decade business. And what advice would you offer to the young management students who aspire to lead organizations in this complex and uncertain world? So in other words, what is the governance factor they should be looking at?
Again, as I said, the moment you go into the governance part, the compliance comes into picture. So when compliance comes into picture, most in the industry would start thinking from here rather than governance, which is done using, you know, your moment ESG started, what most of the corporates did, they hired a senior person at the level of general manager or above in charge of ESG. Now what this person is going to do is going to figure out what the government or For example, the clients of the world is going to need, I'm going to create that matrix, I'm going to start putting tick marks, and I'm going to comply myself. And here an interesting thing happened that a large enterprise is far easily able to do it than a micro, small, and medium enterprise. Because again, it becomes a question of how much money you're able to spend, how much efforts you're going to spend, and it becomes a sort of, I would say a kind of an imbalance or, unfair kind of competition between a large enterprise and a small vendor. And coming on the on the matter of governance, then what happens is a large vendor probably is able to use a better auditor, use a better consulting service, and prove that we are doing good on the ESG front. Is
the better auditor going to give a better audited statement? That is.
Well, I don't want to talk. I was also, I know he's from ENY. I spent some time in PwC. So I don't want to talk about how audit goes. And there are stories. There are stories around. So, and this is not the right forum to discuss about them. But what happens is, as humans, as students, and when your exams are there, you're putting quick tick marks. You're finding methods to get those marks, So we've been trained, or we've been, brought up in that way that if there is some matrix, we have to excel that. That's what I said. Let's not go from the rubrics or the matrix way. We will have to basically go what your heart tells you. Now, for example, I'll take a governance in a different way. In case of everybody sitting here, look at our parents, or in those kids, probably I would say look at your grandparents. They never ate their food unless they watered the plant which was there in the balcony. How so hungry they are. And today what we do, no, I'll do it later. Or probably we are outsourced it to our maid, who's doing the water, correct? Now that's the governance part of it. We had an excellent character called Mali, gardener, in most of our institutes. And you know what this guy used to do? He sometimes used to give you a pot, a plant, Sir, ghar mein jaake plant kar dena. What he was doing, he was passing his green thumb to you. And that's an selfless act. He is not getting anything out of that, but automatically he is trying to see that the greenery in the world is increasing. Even today, there are communities, we are staying in high-rise building, and some of the plants which start growing, we invite some of these people to remove those plants, because we don't want it being in your pathway or something. There are communities today who won't touch the wood and the pimple, the banyan tree. Because they say we have been taught by our ancestors that these plants are not to be touched. Now there has been some sustainability practices into our society from time immemorial. And I think as leaders, you need to go back to that. Just don't look at compliances. Compliances anybody can do. You appoint a good auditor, you appointed a good educated person in your organization, make sure that all the boxes are checked in and the compliance is done. But a very basic fact, like, whether I should be using a child labor to do those things. I don't think you need any checkbox, you need common sense. And in this world of artificial intelligence, I think what business leader should do is first go and ask your common sense. Whether it stands on the common sense, do it. If it doesn't stand there, don't do it. That's my single piece of advice.
Okay. So that means it is an action is considered good or bad, right or wrong, according to the consequences it produces. That's exactly what it's about, good or bad, according to the consequences from Enron, starting from Ford Motors. We have done all those cases with them, yeah. So that's only to connect the class with our speakers, for you to understand that we are now dealing with G, that is the governance. So to come to you, Mr. Niranjan, I would like to ask, how do you think in technology you're talking about, this technology, if it is AI or not, it's definitely going to contribute more towards global warming, that's what people feel, and there is also going to be a need for silver or all this. So how are we going to balance technology development and sustainability?
Yeah, very rightly pointed out that technology, as we progress, is definitely going to contribute to global warming. But on a global front, if you look at it, all these big cloud guys, huge data centers, they're built at remote locations, and there is a certain level of plantation and certain level of forestation which is required to be done. Unless they comply by that level of forestation which requires to be done, the data centers are not allowed to be built. So somewhere, now here was the point when we talked about, this to be a compliance part or a discipline part. But now, here they're following a compliance of forestation. So, first of all, they're trying to decrease the kind of damage they are doing to the environment. So that's one thing for sure. Now, the fact of the matter remains that we cannot run away from technologies, and we have to look at greener technologies, which basically means that all your systems, all your computing systems, or your codes which are running have to be efficient enough to use energy. If you're having a code in your system is running slow, it's basically heating up your computer, eating out on your electricity. So without we realizing that we are not doing it correctly, we are not contributing to sustainability. So going forward, your technology should be such that it should be light, it should not be consuming more resources, as well as it should be giving you the maximum result. So, and that's where, in IT world, computing is moving from one level to the next level. This is one of the reasons that the consumption of resources has to be decreased, and sustainability and your contribution to ESG basically has to be looked upon. So from a technology point of view, this is all.
Yeah, thank you. So the final question of the round is, we can't leave a forum of ESG without discussing the economic significance. So what is the economic significance of ESG? Because when we talk about sustainability or CSR or ESG, these are all part of economics. So what is the economic significance of ESG from a legal liability perspective?
So I think you can answer this question really from 2 points of view. The first is that if at all you are ESG compliant, then you are reducing your risk to liability. Now, what that would mean is you are reducing your statutory risk. Now, Mr. Maskar spoke about something very interesting, which is that tick box philosophy. And as a legal practitioner, I have seen the evolution really of corporate governance in this country, because we had prior in point of time only the Companies Act of 1956, and the Companies Act of 1956 really spelt out what were the reporting requirements, and for the most part the register of companies was merely a drop box, like a post box. You would put your annual report, you would drop it at the register of companies, and that was about it. Gradually in the 90s, we had the stock exchange prescribe what is known as a listing agreement. The listing agreement, for those of you who will enter into the realm of finance, the listing agreement is that if at all today your shares were to be listed on any stock exchange, then you had to have a mandatory listing agreement that was filed with the stock exchange. Now that really started for the first time providing for certain norms of corporate governance. One of the norms was that for the first time, they provided for the constitution of a board of directors having an independent director. So that was really the first step in the evolution of corporate governance, by having a board that was not a board managed captively, but it was a board that also comprised independent people from the outside who were acting as overseers in the protection of the shareholders. And the third thing that happened as a paradigm shift on the aspect of corporate governance was the creation of the Securities and Exchange Board of India. And the Securities and Exchange Board of India really now became the watchdog. So the tie-in really in what Mr. Maskar said, and ma'am, what you have asked me, is that the risk of non-compliance now has become so large that it is no longer a corporate risk, it is also a directorial risk. And by virtue of the fact that it becomes a directorial risk, it now becomes a valuation risk, which means today, if at all the Securities and Exchange Board of India decides that they want to prosecute a company on account of corporate failures, corporate governance failures, then that ultimately is going to affect the valuation of that entity. It is not only going to be a reputational risk, but it is going to be a bottom line risk for that entity. And we have seen this multiple times in actions that have been initiated by the Securities and Exchange Board of India against listed entities. The moment action is initiated, there is an immediate drop in the value of the shares, in the share price. So therefore, the first is that a reputational risk. The second is it becomes not only a reputational risk, but it now becomes a valuation risk, and then it becomes a profit risk. So I think from a corporate governance perspective, we have really evolved now from looking at corporate governance as a checkbox now to becoming a tool of valuation of an entity as well, which is why it's an extremely potent issue. The only takeaway, I think, when you look at the aspect of ESG, is that ESG as a reporting requirement is not something that has become an independent requirement. So for instance, if you are getting an external auditor to audit your accounts, and that's a mandatory element of corporate governance, you do not have external ESG audit. So ideally, I think, to add more in the element of ESG, the only way forward to implement it as a regime of compliance would become having external ESG audit as a part of the audit framework of an entity.
Yeah. So thank you. That's exactly the BRSR report that we find on the first 1,000 companies which they have on the website. So we come to the close of the panel discussion. So there is the last, just in one word, or one sustainability SDG goal, if you would like the students or the future generation to follow, what should be that? Any one of the SDGs.
So I think personally, sustainability should be a philosophy. It should not be a tick box. Sustainability should be an ethos. I mean, we have as Indian children and as Indian parents in this audience, we have always been taught about respect your elders. Please also realize that if you do not have a planet, you do not have any elders. So please respect your planet and respect your environment the same way that you will respect your elders, and treat your elders and your planet synonymously, because that is the only way that you can really save this planet going forward for the future generations.
Yes, Mr. Niranjan. One sustainability practice every individual should imbibe.
We have to be transparent in whatever we do. That's one practice we'll have to follow. Adding to what he's saying, it should be a philosophy. And we have to be transparent. So if I say that I'm, doing a particular activity in my business or at my home, and it is going to generate something, it is my responsibility to be transparent and tell the society this is what is going to happen. So that people who are the stakeholders or who are, kind of responsible for maintaining certain level of sustainability, ESG, have time to take measures to know what damage is going to happen. If we are transparent in telling the damage, we are kind of efficient in managing it also.
Yes, and to you, sir.
Simplest way, the way we look at ESG and when we look at governance, we're always looking top down. My approach is go bottom up. Most of our parents used to carry a simple cloth bag in their pocket. And we today are so attuned to ask for the plastic bag when you buy anything from the vendor. This one simple practice, if all of you start, I think the world will become a lot sustainable. Okay, we unfortunately have these things. I mean, I don't know, we do not have solution to that yet. Different companies have started solution. But at least simpler things starting at a human level. Carry a bag, carry a handkerchief, carry a water bottle if possible, and reduce the waste and the plastic that is going to get generated in this environment. I think that will go a long way.
So I think you have covered, because we wanted to open the house for discussion, for questions, but we don't have time, and you have covered most of the things. So we move from philosophy, ethos, then we go to transparency, and then bottom up. So the thing that you people always say that risk hai to ishq hai, probably you can't do that anymore, because don't take any risk when it comes to ESG. So I would like to thank all of you. And here, one concluding note, which was from the opening inaugural ceremony by our chief guest, as he said, every one of us have got a lot to do, so do more for your home, for your country, and for the world. Okay. Thank you very much, panelists, for an excellent discussion.
A heartfelt thanks to the industry speakers and moderator for their valuable insights and perspectives on how businesses are transforming to be resilient and responsible in a disruptive world. We would request CEO ma'am to kindly felicitate the panelists with a memento. मत दे बोलो
I'd request ma'am to felicitate Advocate Berzin Somandi, sir.
Mr. Niranjan Bal.
Now, before we proceed to our next segment, we have a special privilege to hear from CIMR's esteemed international knowledge partners who have been an integral part of shaping this conference. We have Dr. Anwar, Head of Management and Study Program. Let's hear from him. We'd request the tech team to please play the video.
Good morning, distinguished guys, respected keynote speakers, fellow researchers, and their participants. I, Dr. Anwar, as the head of Management Study Program, Faculty of Economics and Business, Universitas Negeri Makassar, would like to extend my warmest welcome to all of you to the 9th International Research Conference titled Sustainable Futures, Leveraging Innovation in Business Practice and Social Enterprises, held on the 13th and 14th of March 2026. It is a great honor for us to be part of this important academic forum that bring together scholars and participants who share a strong commitment to advising sustainable and innovative business practice. This conference provides a valuable platform to exchange ideas, research findings, and practical insight on how innovation KMR and CMIR, to Dr. Nandita Misra, Director of CMR, and to Dr. Mahesh Lutia, Conference Convener and Professor of Human Resource and Operation Behavior, for their leadership, collaboration, and dedication in organizing this remarkable conference. Finally, I would like to thank the organizing committee, presenters, and all participants for your valuable contribution. Once again, thank you very much and good luck. Greeting from Indonesia. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have Dr. Mustafa Kayali, Honorary Professor at SDEC University, Mexico, amongst us. We humbly request you to address the gathering.
It is online. On Zoom.
It is not.
I'll be on Zoom.
related issues over in Nepal regarding that.
Okay, sir. Oh, thank you.
So,
I request sir to address the gathering.
okay. Good afternoon and namaste. So we are here in a panel discussion. And recently, the mode of business is changing due to digitalization. Each and every business is facing some sort of changes in virtual organization system as a part of digital change. This digitalization is change on an individual to social and institutional level. So if changes come in and impacting to all three levels, individual, society, and institution, then definitely it is bringing change in all the areas. One of the very pertinent issues in business is accounting. So how the digitalization is changing in accounting section or accounting parts, that I will focus during this 9 minutes. Now I think 1 minute has already gone, so in 9 minutes. For that, the adaptation of AI, big data and predictive analytics in management accounting has grown significantly over the last 5 years. Organizations worldwide are investing in AI, big data, and predictive analytics as they think decisions are being more accurate with user feed. So what I tried to collect some of the data from ESG companies, the companies which are doing practice of ESG. From their data, we collected some of the facts and then we played with the data. And what we come to conclude with the help of those data, that I will dictate you first. And we come through regression model, we come to conclude that a 10% increase in AI adoption corresponds to an approximate 9% improvement in decision-making efficiency. So the company which are implementing AI adoption in their decision-making of accounting process, approximately 9% improvements are found with the help of this AI-based decision-making only. So this correlation between AI adoption and decision-making efficiency stands at 0.99, denoting that an almost perfect association. This empirical evidence formally established that AI-driven financial strategy, the same regression, and for big data, we found that 10% increase in big data adoption, financial forecasting accuracy improves by 2%. If we are increasing the adoption of big data by 10%, then our decision efficiency in financial accuracy is coming 2% better. This helps us to improve forecasting capabilities and risk assessment. It is the art and science that distinguishes if a company is management found to be success. That's why big data is playing all over there. An analysis for predictive analysis, what we found that a 10% increase in predictive analysis improved 3.3% of cost reduction. If a company is doing their decision by using predictive analytics, then their cost is found to be reduced by 3.3%. So together, this all three could shape the business in digital era, or the way digital changes are taking place. In that, if we use these three small techniques only in accounting practice, then accounting of the business should reshape in this digital practice, we can say. However, three challenges are also there. When we apply these techniques, the number one challenge, data security. How do you manage the data security is a challenge in this digital era. And another, yes, companies are investing 60%. Companies are investing 60% to fulfill the talent gap in this digital transferring age for business operation. However, they are lacking in some of the sources. They are not in position to cope with it. Another side, along with this digital standards for accounting are not adopted yet in digital transfer. So it's urgent to maintain regulatory provisions in digital era by balancing the gap of talent also and data security also. These three, if we can balance, then business safe in digital transformation would be better. However, for its better practice, particularly small industries companies, as they are practicing automation, if sensor with automation would be there, then for accounting, we don't need to gather the data differently. We can process with it all together only, and this makes the job quite easier. So in these aspects, for making our business better, we can suggest also something. Just I am covering from accounting points of view only at this point. So for managers' points of view, what we can do, business leaders should prioritize integrating AI-driven decision support tools to enhance financial analytics in strategic planning. Invest in employee programs focused on AI and big data. Companies will bring skill gap and improve adoption rate. Additionally, companies should implement a hybrid approach where human expertise complements AI-generated insights to maintain accountability and reduce reliance on automated model. One side automated model we can appreciate, but human should check at every aspects for managerial aspects of view by implementing training and scale up the human skill requirements. So government and regulatory bodies should also establish clear guidelines on data privacy and AI ethics in financial reporting. Developing a standardized framework for AI and big data adoption in management accounting will enhance regulatory companies and ensure fair market practices. Additionally, incentives such as tax breaks or grants for companies should be given to adopt digital transformation. If those companies who are adopting digital transformation would provided some of the tax discount and tax leverage, then those companies would be motivated to implement it. Followed by the study which we conducted, in that what we found, growing body of research on digital transformation in management accounting, the finding validates that resource-based view theory by demonstrating that AI, big data, and predictive analytics serve as valuable resource. That competitive advantages and future research means if you are using this AI-based accounting system, then accurately which resource is in what positions. We can classify the resources accurately, then our accounting would be better. What happens? We classify resource at a time and then we think this planning work tomorrow. However, with the help of these digital tools, what happens? Exactly when you need the data, accurate data you will get, and your decision would be more precise and effective in that domain. Similarly, in knowledge contribution points of view, what we can say, the statistical evidence supports that argument that AI, big data, and predictive analytics collectively enhance business optimization. These insights can guide future study in exploring industry-specific application and challenges associated with digital transformation in accounting. On the basis of investment level, on the basis of automation and data generation system, for every industry, if we classify, then we can see the accounting practice over there for a specific industry, and further research is required in that area. So future researchers should focus on ethical application of AI in financial decision making, particularly concerning biasness in predictive models. Predictive models are performing on the basis of past data. So what data is more access to this AI tool, that data will misguide, that data might misguide our decisions. To control that, the model, predictive model accuracy need to be assessed through long-term research. Additionally, longitudinal studies analyzing the impact of AI and big data on long-term financial sustainability will provide deeper insight into the evolving role of technology in management accounting. Further exploration of AI-driven fraud detection mechanism and their effectiveness in mitigating financial crime is also recommended. Financial crime is increasing day by day. To control that, we need predictive modeling application over there also. And how the judiciary is going to take those financial criminal methods in their application need to be researched further. So during this panel discussion, I have just covered from accounting aspects in digital business world, how accounting of the future could be there. So if in second round, if you get chance during this discussion, then we explore on other, since other speakers are also there. So for this moment, I would like to take a break. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is our pleasure to have Dr. P.K. Paul, Collaboration Chair of CIMR's 9th International Research Conference 2026 and Executive Director of the MCIS program at Raiganj University, West Bengal, amidst us. Sir, we humbly request you to address the gathering.
Dignitaries, it's a great privilege for all of us to attend in this 9th version of CMRI conference. So we are really fortunate that CMI are organizing this international conference of its 9th version. So it's a great opportunity because 6 institutes from 6 countries are organizing this event, a true international event, where the dean and the most epic person of Madhesh University already just gave his brief address. We have with Dr. Mustafa Kayali from Azteca University, Mexico with us. So as the time is short and we have so many other schedule and other tracks, so in short, I will say about the sustainability in education system, particularly sustainability in education 4.0. So I am sharing a screen now. I will take 10 minutes time. So I think my PPT is visible to you. And so the thing is that you know that sustainability is everywhere. And this is a great initiative by Chetana Institute of Management Research. I would like to thank the director of the institute, Professor Nandita Mishra Madam. I would like to thank also the CEO of the CMIR and also another institute, Professor Dr. Patil Madam, for thinking such a beautiful international conference with different institutes globally, and a lot of presenters are having their opportunity from this conference. My special thanks to Professor Mahesh, the convener, co-conveners, two co-conveners we have, Professor Dr. Rinku and Professor Dr. Manjula Madam. So we are fortunate for their effort and dedicated hard work, and also the teams. So you know the transformation in education systems are changing rapidly, and particularly in the AI era. And everyone is thinking about the development of the education system. So if you think about the education systems, then we can see that there are different kind of paradigm shifting is there in the education system, particularly in the ICT-based education. And ICT-based education is offering us new age personalized and customized education systems, because this education is give us a new value to the face-to-face mode of education. At the same time, they are also offering us the online mode of education and many other new modes of education that is growing globally. And day by day, there are different kind of modes are increasing globally. So rapid advancement of AI, ICT, digital platform, different kind of technologies and systems are truly changing the education 4.0. The integration of cloud, big data, blockchain, all these together are developing the new age education system, where education is changing the sustainability using technologies like the gamification, like AI-powered intelligent tutoring systems, like the open platform-based systems, and all together we are toward the shifting of the education 4.0. If you see the back eras of education, then we had the time of education 4.0, where only speech were valuable. Then we see then we saw the invention of the education 4.0 and then education 3.0, and now we are in front of the education 4.0, where flexible education, customized education is very important. All the students are learning in CMIR. Now they can think about own syllabus, own curricula, own specialization, own optional, and as per NEP 2020 implemented by Government of India, these sustainable features in education systems are really helpful to the global world, because the AI, IoT, cloud, industry 4.0 are the main pillar of education 4.0. If we look about the cloud computing, if we look about the big data, if we look about the artificial intelligence, all we together for the betterment of education. And betterment of education is only possible when all-round development is possible, a particular SDG goal is possible. So it is very important to know that all the 17 goals of SDG to be fulfilled by the new age technologies. And there are a lot of stakeholders are increasing education 4.0 for the sustainability. And it includes the learners, guide and teachers, staffs, employee, administration, education institutes, basic technology, emerging IT and computing technology, and industry and organization. You know, all you are going to be future managers of different schools. So it is not like that your education is ended with the education 4.0 or even coming the education 5.0. Because now the concept has been changed to the corporate education, the industry integrated education, where people are learning and getting their degrees, their qualification while you are in work. So organizations are also going to tie up with the universities and institutions for their in-house learners, in-house working professionals. Now people are also offering doctoral program for their managers and other good apex types of bodies. So universities are tie-upping with the industries. And these things are only possible with technology, particularly the AI, and also new age technology like the agentic AI. These are reflecting the education systems with the sustainability, like the adapted learning path, automation path, student support path, intelligent tutoring. All these are giving to the new shape to the sustainable education system. And it is not only to the restricted to the higher education institute. The companies also offering a different section in their houses. They named as corporate education, and they are offering certificate, diploma, workshop, training, even doctoral program. You see many universities in India and abroad, they are connecting with the industry and they are offering the work integrated learning program. So these are the example of how sustainable education is moving and how we are also moving to the education 4.0 for the online systems, whether it is content development, idea thinking, HR management, or super flexibility. For each and everything, we are moving to the development. And when the education systems we are moving, then we can come to the digital society. And this society is only possible with the different emerging technologies and definitely with education 4.0 and other technologies. And in a education 4.0 and digital society, digital skills, smart education, e-governance, and digital economy are very much important. So the students from management are also going to play a vital role in education systems because they are going to key stakeholder for the new industries and new education industry and industry academia connectivity. So like this, the AI and other tools are really shaping the education systems, and ultimately the impact of these systems is to enhance the digital literacy, enhancing the skill development, enhancing the industry inclusiveness in the digital society based potentiality. In future, we can work more on the agentic AI-based system, the ethical aspects of the education for the sustainability, and policy-based work. because policy is the matter where everywhere can be implemented. The new age education policy, new ICT based education policy for the sustainability is important, because sustainability is the word which is not only connected with the organization, it is almost for the everywhere, whether it is healthcare, transportation, tourism, business, everywhere these words sustainability has its own impact, as during last yesterday different speakers and inaugurator told, and today also in the panel discussion we learned a lot of things from the expert. So definitely the coming era will be more sustainable, where education technology will going to transform and it bring us the societal changes and bring us the digital society with proper sustainability. And sure, this synergy between the education 4.0 and digital society development will keep the sustainable development goal much broader, and it will help us for our future. So with this, for this brief speech, I'm concluding here. I would like to thank once again the organizer for conducting such a beautiful international cruise conference. I would like to thank once again the organizer, particularly the CEO of the institutes, the director, convener, co-conveners, and organizing students. I am seeing last yesterday itself, they are doing their hard work in on front and up front of the dais. So really, once again, thanks from my heart, bottom of the heart. And being associated with Azteca University, Mexico, it's my privilege to connect for the future international conference and academic events of the Chetana group of institutes. Last month, we had conducted an international event with the Chetana's 17th and 18th of the February, this international conference of 3 institutes from Chetana. That was also very excellent. More than 300 papers were presented. Really a great success by the Chetana group of institute. Thank you, and namaste and namaskar to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now request Dr. Mustafa Kayali, Honorary Professor at Azteca University, to please address the gathering.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? Many thanks for this opportunity. It's such a privilege and great honor to participate and attend this event, actually. Many thanks to Chetana's Institute of Management and Research for, for organizing this event, for all partners, all organizers, all supporters, and all universities that contributed to the success of this event. I'm indebted, as always, to Dr. Baker Ward for his support in, organizing and helping such events. So today, I would like to talk about an important topic nowadays. It's AI for student mental health support. Actually, this is one of the topics that I had in mind to talk about when, we had discussions with Azteca University about it. I'm affiliated to Azteca University in Mexico, so we had that in mind, that how we can ensure that we can use AI to support mental health for students. Nowadays, all students, they are using AI. For that reason, this is very important. Why the topic is important, why it matters, why we should think about AI for providing support for students. Because nowadays, all over the world, students need mental health support. This pressure of using social media for a long time, using screens for a long time, it requires having support for all students. And because AI is part of our life for the moment, then we can use it for supporting students, for helping them, and for providing, maybe a fast route, providing fast path for students. So if we would like to use that traditional consulting centers, it might need time to reach them. So it might be difficult for students to achieve a direct result. For that reason, many researchers nowadays are proposing AI to take role in solving and finding solution for this issue. For the current moment, there is a high, the current challenge that we have is that we have high demand for mental health services. One more time, this mental pressure, this emotional pressure that students are having requires providing mental support for them. For that reason, this is one of the demands of why we need AI to provide the support. Number two is the delay in access to professional help. Because one more time, if a student is in need for providing support or help and it takes time, then that is going to be problematic. In addition to that, of course, after providing the support, it will be very difficult to have the after support. Whenever we have that emotional, mental support for students, it will be difficult to have that after support. I mean, follow up with students. And of course, it will be difficult to identify students who are having urgent risk early. For that reason, AI can be, a helpful tool for that. And of course, sometimes we have weak and fragmented support across universities and across health and well-being services. For that reason, to provide, we can use AI. Alternative is a supportive way. I'm going to talk about that way now. What AI can do in student mental health? First of all, it can provide chatbots for first-line guidance. At the beginning, we can use it like in a similar way to all tools, all AI tools like ChatGPT, for example. Then it can be like a chat bot. A student would talk about his problem, what he or she is having, and then having guidance through AI, like the first moment. We have screening tools to identify symptoms, the level of the danger, the level of the risk, to triage systems to prioritize urgent cases in case, for example, a student is thinking about suicide. We can deal that case, that urgent, that dangerous case, in a similar way to a student who is just like angry because the course was difficult for her to pass. This is different cases. Then we have that system to prioritize urgent, very urgent, very dangerous cases. Digital self-support, digital self-help support, this would be, very, very useful because it develops skills of students. It enhances their mood and it provides well-being support for them. Because one more time, maybe it's not that big problem, but students might need support to get maybe what they need, to get the help that they're waiting for. Potential benefits of AI, why we strongly support usage of AI, because first of all, it's available 24/7. We don't have working hours. We don't have, for example, 5 days a week. No, here in our scenario, it's 24/7 available. It's faster for first response, one more time, for identifying the level of the case, then it can provide a first response. The first impression, it's very fast to provide it. It can reach undeserved or remote learners. This is very important because nowadays we are having many activities, many events that are being done and being accomplished online. We have online learners, we have online staff. For that reason, sometimes we need to provide support to them. Then it can have a better access to those learners. It can identify urgent cases in a fast way, one more time, because it analyzes the pattern that students are having. And of course, it's good because it provides continuity for self-help and for professional care. One more time, after, for example, it identifies the situation, the case, it can provide the support and help, and it can follow up the situation, follow up the case, not just identify and stop. This is important in that situation. We have different examples of usage of AI. For example, a chatbot provides immediate emotional support and directs students to resources. For example, one more time, we have a student who is having difficulty to understand the course. Then that chatbot can provide that support, emotional support, and can provide students to get the course easier. Then this is good because it enhances and improves their health, their mental and psychological health, of course. A triage tool helps consulting service sort referrals by urgency. One more time. What's urgent? What's risky? And what's a normal situation? A digital self-help app offers CBT-based exercise and stress management tools. One more time. This is something that can be done and shared by AI. A risk alert system flag concerning patterns for human review. This is extremely important, actually. This one is very important because, one more time, AI is not a replacement for human. It's supporting humans. We're not using AI as an alternative. We are using it as a supportive tool. For that reason, for example, if we got a student who is thinking about suicide, we have a flag, red alarm flag. That red alarm flag would request a human interaction, a human review. For that reason, whenever we analyze the patterns of students using their chats or their discussions, we can reach a conclusion that an AI system can predict what might happen for a student based on those students' discussions or talking or ideas or even search patterns. So we can use AI to predict the future of students based on their search or based on their patterns of me looking for ideas or looking for information. We have, of course, different risks and ethical concerns, ethical matters, for example. The first one is privacy. This is very important because whenever we provide a huge amount of data to AI, this is dangerous. And when we train AI to use data, this is also dangerous. We are using our students' data, our emotional feelings of our students, and this is actually something very dangerous. Sometimes sensitive mental health data security risk. We're talking about the mental health data. This is also, very dangerous. Based against minorities or underrepresented groups. One more time, we need to ensure that the AI model is neutral, 100% neutral, not based against a country, a religion, a minority, or anything else. We need to be 100% neutral. False positives and false negatives might be a big problem because we need a true and real identification and analyzing and diagnosing of the situation of students, not just like to predict or to say anything. Because one more time, if you got a student who is, for example, thinking about ending his life or ending her life, and then AI deal with that situation in that carelessness, then we might lose a soul. And this is something very dangerous. Over-reliance on automated advice, this is also a problem because we are human beings. At the end, we need to interact with humans. We need to listen to humans, not to deal with AI all over the world, every now and then. This is one of the problems also. Unclear accountability when harm occurs. This is also a problem. Whom to blame when there is a problem? Whom to blame when students' situations or mental health is escalating? Whom to blame? Whom to ask why it happened? Then if there is no hierarchy of accountability, this is also going to be a big problem. Why we need humans in our situation? Because AI should assist professionals, not replace them. This is important, and we should keep focusing on this one. We are using AI to support us, not to replace us. Human review is necessary for high risk or ambiguous cases. One more time, if we have high risk, then we need a human interaction. This is very important. Staff must validate alerts, recommendation, and triage decisions. At the end, final decision should be for humans. At the end, the final approval should be done for human. The one to say okay at the end should be a human. This is important. Students need clear road to real human support. One more time, we might, for example, we have a very complicated situation. then at the end, student should have the option to call a human support, not an AI support. Actually, I'm not going to take time, implementation in our universities. This can be done. Start with low risk use cases such as, for example, supporting for students. Then we can start with low risk cases. Avoid fully automated systems. This is important. Train staff to use the tools. This is important. Communicate clearly to students when they are interacting with AI. This is also important. Then we can start the system at our universities, start it gradually, and then develop it by the time. Of course, we can use it to maybe at the beginning to maybe find solution, find support for simple cases. And we should implement and teach this model that whenever you got that urgent or risky cases, then we should get that human interaction. This is very important. Recommendation for policy and practice, this is what we should think about. We should develop clear institutional AI policies for mental health support. In case we have a plan that we need to implement this one in our universities, for example, maybe in India, we have universities with thousands and thousands of students. We have universities that contain a huge number of students. Then if we need, or if we think to provide support to all of those students, mental support, we can't use professional people to provide that support. We need AI to do that. One more time, at a certain level, not to fully implement AI, certain level. Then those universities, those big universities, those universities that contain thousands and thousands of students, they should develop policies to implement AI to provide support for mental health and to protect data. This is very important. And of course, to deal with the students neutrally, without looking at their names or the color of their skins or their religion or their whatever, we need neutral AI. This is important. And we need to include students in the testing and evaluation. For example, a student who is having a bad situation, that student can have an AI mental support and human mental support, and that student can compare. And then we can, by the time, develop our model to provide a better support. At the end, AI has real potential to expand student mental health. This is important. We need to use AI to help our students. This is important. We use AI for different areas, many areas, but one of them that we should think about for the moment is how to provide support to their mental health. This is important. It can provide and improve access, response, and service to the mental health. One important idea, mental health is a high-risk domain. A high-risk domain. Then we should be vigilant about it. We should use it wisely with human validation, not to depend on AI for everything. And at the end, AI should strengthen, not replace professional care. One more time, AI should never be an alternative to humans. It should be a tool to support them. Then that is my topic today. Thank you so much one more time. And I'm indebted to the organizers, supporters, to the partners, universities, and to everyone who contributed to the success of this event. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. We now request Dr. Nalini Krishnan ma'am, Dean, Student Affairs, to kindly propose a vote of thanks.
Just tell you a hi. Hope you're doing good. And Dr. Paul, thank you so much. And Dean Madesh University, thank you so much for taking time out. Yes, ma'am, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of CIMR, I take this opportunity to express our gratitude to all the distinguished speakers who have enriched this session. I extend my heartfelt thanks to our chief guest, Mr. Chaitanya Kalia, partner at EY and national leader for climate change and sustainability, for his insightful keynote address. I would like to express our deep appreciation to our guest of honor, Mr. Nitin Naik, founder of Synergy Connect, for his inspiring address. Special thanks to Mr. Khanolkar for gracing the event. Our sincere thanks to the esteemed panelists who made the panel discussion extremely engaging and thought-provoking. Advocate Barzin Sumandi, Mr. Niranjan Bal, and Mr. Suhas Maskar, your insights and experiences have provided us with valuable perspectives on all aspects of ESG. A special word of thanks to Dr. Nandita Mishra, Director of CIMR, for skillfully moderating the panel discussion. We are also deeply grateful to our knowledge partners for their encouraging words and continued academic collaboration. Dr. Anwar from Universitas Negeri Makassar, Indonesia, Dr. Mustafa Khayali from Azteca University, Mexico, Dr. Anjay Kumar Mishra from Madhesh University, Nepal, and Dr. P.K. Paul from Raiganj University and Azteca University. Your association strengthens the global academic spirit of this conference. My heartfelt thanks to all the delegates, researchers, and participants, both offline and online, who have joined for your enthusiastic participation. I once again thank each one of you for being part of this meaningful academic gathering. We look forward to the research paper presentations on sustainable practices in the afternoon. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So a sincere thanks from my side to all of you, especially our international partners, Dr. Paul, and for all the collaboration. I think yesterday and today the deliberations were very good, and this is truly, truly international. We look forward for taking this association ahead. Thank you very much. You have a good afternoon.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We will now gather back at 5 p.m. for the valedictory session. Thank you so much.